Yo, this is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And our sponsors at Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. I really appreciate you joining me. I hope everyone is okay. We've got more stories coming over the next few weeks due to the massive amount of backdated cases because of COVID-19 delays. All major crime cases were put on hold due to COVID. And a lot of cases will be going through the Old Bailey and also other courts across the country as they try to catch up. Regular viewers of the channel will remember back in October last year we covered the story of Baptista, Adjei. He was murdered on his way home from school on a bus in the middle of a busy Stratford shopping centre and in front of loads of school kids. This murder was shocking due to the brutal nature and also the fact that it involved other school children. The story has got nearly 400,000 views. So thank you to everyone for sharing that story and getting it heard by as many people as possible. The mother of the suspect, who was actually later convicted of his murder, actually handed her son in as well, and the details will be spoken about later on in this video. On Tuesday the 11th of August 2020, two 16-year-old boys appeared at the Old Bailey. They can't be named due to their ages, so they're only named as Boy A and Boy B. Boy A was found guilty of the murder and wounding of Baptista and was remanded in custody for sentencing on Friday the 25th of September. Boy B was found not guilty of any charges and was released from court. The court heard that 2 to 3 weeks before the murder of Baptista, the victim and his 15-year-old friend had become involved in an online disagreement in a Snapchat group chat that involved the defendants. They only knew each other vaguely outside the online forum. They had only seen the boys once or twice around the Stratford area. The interaction began as mutual banter, but eventually turned ugly. The prosecution said the boys had begun taunting each other, culminating in a brief online exchange between suspect A telling Baptista, "If you've got no bodies on your blade, leave the group chat." Baptista allegedly replied, "Shut up, you'll be the first." The exchange between both victim and defendant ended with Boy A threatening to be outside the victim's school at 3:25 the following day. He was not waiting for them when they finished school, but weeks later, on the day of the murder, on the 10th of October 2019, Baptista and his 15-year-old friend were on the bus towards Stratford. Boy B spoke with Baptista briefly on board the bus, all the while on the phone to Boy A, which lasted over 5 minutes. The prosecution submitted that he was directing Boy A to the correct bus that Baptista was on. Officers investigating the murder saw on CCTV Boy A calmly pull a balaclava over his face and put on blue latex gloves. As Baptista and his friend made their way down the staircase of the double-decker bus, they were caught completely unaware and he stabbed them both with a 10-inch combat knife. Boy A was seen on CCTV holding onto the handrail in the attack that lasted just 9 seconds. He inflicted 2 fatal wounds on Baptista before turning his attention to his 15-year-old friend and inflicted further wounds. Baptista was stabbed twice in the chest. The blade punctured his lung and also his heart. Not realising the severity of his injuries, he ran off and made it as far as the Stratford shopping centre before he collapsed outside. Despite the efforts of medics, Baptista died from his injuries at the scene at 10 to 4 that day. Baptista's friend was stabbed once in the arm and once in the leg. He was taken to an East London hospital by the London Ambulance Service where he remained for almost a week following the incident. He has since made a full recovery, but from the amount of time he spent in hospital, it must have been very serious injuries. A murder investigation was launched and led by Detective Inspector Chris Saul of the Metropolitan Specialist Crime Command. Word of the murder spread quickly on social media and through the community, and on the 11th of October, the day after, members of the suspect's family, Boy A, had themselves heard the rumours that Boy A had admitted to both attacks on both victims. He was subsequently presented to the police station at Forest Gate by his mother. And this is the first time, I believe, that this has actually been confirmed. So we released that information a year ago. So it shows how good our sources are when it comes to information like this. We'll always make sure we double check the story to make sure we're not putting out information that isn't correct. The day after, on the 12th of October, boy A was charged with Baptista's murder, grievous bodily harm with intent in relation to the second 15-year-old, and 2 counts of possession of an offensive weapon. He was remanded in custody. Detectives established that boy B was on the bus taken by the victims. This was supported by his Oyster card records in addition, and also checks on his mobile phone that showed he had called the suspect convicted from the bus shortly before the murder took place. On the 16th of October 2019, boy B was charged with conspiracy to murder under joint enterprise. He appeared at Stratford Youth Court, where he too was remanded in custody. The detective in charge of the case said, after the murder of Baptista and the serious injury of his friend, the killer took a bus back to his home in Manor Park. He said he's saddened that the mindset was murder, and this was the response for a chat room disagreement and what some would call banter and name calling. The case officer, Detective Sergeant Suzanne Sozan, they said that boy A's mother confronted her son and made him face the consequences of his actions. This must be seen as considerable bravery. Her actions gave Baptista's family the chance to get justice and some resemblance of closure. She should be commended for making that decision, and this was right and just. The ripples of the extreme violence reach far beyond those immediately involved in the actual incident, and Baptista's family struggled to get over the loss. And also the defendants' families will mourn their own futures as they have lost their kids for a considerable amount of time. This case is an example of how a small incident can escalate out of control, and online disagreements can manifest into the real world. The family was disappointed that boy B was not convicted under the charges, but from what I'm hearing, joint enterprise is becoming very difficult to convict for. So I definitely might do a video about joint enterprise and some cases that have been found to be inaccurate because of that. And I'm not sure what the current state of joint enterprise is and how often it's being used nowadays. So rest in peace to Baptista Adjei. And I really appreciate you joining me today. And please don't forget to follow us online at Scarcity Studios. And I'll be back again very soon with some more news. Peace.